So, Top Gun Maverick proved to be a huge hit with the audiences. Hey, the movie's great, it's fun and adrenaline-packed, especially in its last act when its Top Gun aviators are sent on a real combat mission. But as usual in Hollywood, that last mission is presented in a way that doesn't really mesh with reality. How would actual military planners go about fulfilling the goal? Destruction of a nuclear fuel enrichment facility well protected by enemy SAMs and planes? Watch our video to find out. Fighter jets are cool, but allow us a word from our sponsor on something just as cool: blasting away zombies. Age of Origins game is a city-building strategy and tower defense game for mobile platforms. In the game, you command a city in a ruined world. You get to expand your city, develop technologies, and best of all, fend off waves of zombie hordes. You're joined by other cities commanded by other real players on the map. Who will create the most powerful city in this doomed world? You can also enter into alliances with other players and fight in huge battles in other cities and all around the map. There are titans to be developed, huge units with massive firepower. You can also recruit officers, increasing the effectiveness of your troops. Age of Origins also offers tower defense minigames, where you obliterate zombie hordes. Each type of a defensive structure has unique traits, so choose the best combinations carefully. Tower defense can get intense. There's like a zillion units here. Ooh, did you see that nuke going off? And I love the giant cannon defense game. It's like I'm a mecha Rambo mowing down zombie mutants. Best of all, Binkov viewers get a special gift. Download the game using the link below and you'll get an in-game gift pack worth $60. Age of Origins. Try it out. Back to our video. So in Top Gun Maverick, the setup of that combat mission is the following. The target is an underground facility set in a small valley surrounded by mountains, sort of like the middle of a volcano crater. The whole area around it is mountainous and there are SAM units peppered around the mountain ridges. There are GPS jammers all around the area too, with a focus on the mountains around the target valley. Finally, enemy 5th generation fighter jets are flying air patrol missions. So, in the movie, the best way to destroy the target is this: send 4 Super Hornets and have them fly super low, hoping to avoid radar detection. Then use laser-guided bombs on the target. There's also fairly little time to prepare it all, just 2 weeks from the moment we learn about the nuclear facility. Well, there are issues with that approach, but for the moment let's say that for whatever reason they had to use Super Hornets and nothing else. The movie didn't explain how tall the mountains around the target are. The higher up the GPS jammers on those mountains are, the less precise GPS-guided bombs would be. The US in reality uses combined laser and GPS-guided bombs, so that's really the best of both worlds. Problem is, of course, that laser guidance requires some time. The operator must designate the target with the targeting pod. In the movie, it's implied the operator has to keep the target lased manually. In reality, once the target is designated, the pod will keep it lased on its own, unless it malfunctions, which also happened in the movie. And that got us another nice Star Wars homage moment, where I half expected to see Goose popping up the last minute as a ghost. Come on, they had bombs hitting a ventilation shaft after a long canyon run, and the approach is even peppered with SAM sites perched atop, again similar to the guns in the Star Wars trench run. But hey, I love a good homage. Got no beef with that. Anyway, GPS-only guidance could have been used, but it might have required a more powerful bomb to compensate for precision woes, or it could have required more bombs used. That's speculation really, as we've no idea how deep buried the target is. The fact the movie accentuated the need to hit into the ventilation shaft may mean the target is so deep that even dozens of hits outside the ventilation shaft would have not reached the target facility. In theory, even a massive Ordnance penetrator, which is the biggest bomb the US has, might not have been enough, but in practice it's hard to imagine that several such bombs, dropped one after another, digging the hole deeper and deeper, would not reach a sprawling underground facility. Of course, the said bombs are used only by B-2 bombers, so the whole mission would look differently, but more about that later. If the Super Hornets have to be used, would they go in like in the movie, hiding in the canyon? Well, if there were just 4 planes doing the mission, like in the movie, then yeah, that might be doable. Certainly, organizing a strike package made up of several dozen planes would not be practical if all the planes would have to do the canyon run. But why would you want to involve dozens of planes? Well, because that's how such missions are usually done. In the movie, the entire mission is done with zero immediate support. Those 4 Super Hornets had no jammer planes supporting them. They had no fighter escorts. Each of them carried 2 Sidewinder missiles, and that's it. But if the US had to use Super Hornets, it would still use many more planes in the whole strike package, some in case some failed to hit the target. There would be many fighter escorts. There would be jammer planes in the back trying to blind enemy radars. Those would also be firing anti-radar missiles to suppress the SAMs. Actually, the movie shows the enemy SAM launchers to be more or less SA-3s deployed as fixed launchers. Those would be fairly easy to spot and be engaged directly in advance of the attack. Depending on the threats in the area and the number of targets, the strike package could easily be even bigger. The US had strike packages of some 70 planes back in the Gulf War. Of course, if the target is so important, it would really be a whole air campaign made up of many strike packages. The whole point of the US Air Force supremacy is to overwhelm an enemy with numbers and technology. But such campaigns may indeed take more than 2 weeks to organize. Maybe there simply aren't air bases or carriers around. So let's just go along with the movie and say that wasn't an option. So a better option that you could organize quickly would be using B-2 bombers for the strike. Those are stealthy, so they are inherently more survivable than other bombers, and possibly even less detectable than some of the other tactical stealth planes the US has, like the F-35. B-2s had missions in the past where they would fly halfway across the world using in-flight refueling, so getting them to the target would not be an issue. The movie stated the target area is just 2.5 minutes away from the coast when flying at just under Mach 1, so any plane going in would be exposed for quite a short time. Those B-2 might still need support though, depending on the number and type of enemy threats. But realistically, the movie showed just several enemy planes in the air. Those could be dealt with by a large fighter escort force. Another reason why stealthy planes would be preferred rather than Super Hornets is that the latter would be unlikely to go in undetected. First off, if there is a conveniently placed canyon leading to your very important facility, there would definitely be some scouts in that canyon. Someone would have spotted incoming planes. Secondly, there is zero chance that the enemy would not have radars monitoring the sea as the US forces approach over it, and there would be no way for non-stealthy planes to hide over the sea. The movie conveniently just forgot to deal with that issue. In fact, the movie just hand-waved the F-35 away without a proper realistic reason. It said something like the F-35 requiring GPS to finish the mission, and since the enemy is jamming the GPS signal, the F-35 is not suitable for the mission. In reality, the F-35 is not any more dependent on GPS than the Super Hornet. Both use satellite navigation to determine their location and find their way to the target. But GPS jamming can work properly only down low, when jamming signals could come from suitable directions. A high-flying F-35 would have no issues navigating to the target. Could it then use laser-guided bombs? Yes, it has a targeting pod with a laser designator integrated into it. However, it doesn't carry big laser-guided bombs internally. Smaller bombs might simply not be destructive enough. F-35 could of course carry even 2,000-pound laser-guided bombs externally, but that would compromise its stealth greatly. Though it would still be more stealthy than a Super Hornet, and it would be more capable overall. So a dozen F-35s, with some acting as jammers, some going after enemy air defenses, some dealing with enemy Su-57 fighters, the 5th generation planes depicted in the movie, would be able to kick down the door enough for the B-2 to go in and drop those big bombs. While only GPS guided, those bombs are powerful enough that they would likely destroy the target even if not featuring pinpoint accuracy. Actually, even just 4 F-35s would likely be less exposed to enemy fire than 4 Super Hornets. In the movie, a barrage of cruise missiles is shown neutralizing an enemy airbase just before the attack starts. So just imagine what sort of neutralization of enemy assets could be done with a combination of cruise missiles and other strike planes. But could the cruise missiles alone have destroyed the facility? We don't know how deep the target facility goes. Tomahawk missiles were used on the enemy airbase, but to hit inside the ventilation shaft, another missile might be preferred today. The JASSM has GPS guidance like the Tomahawk, but its terminal precision is even better, as it uses an imaging seeker better than the camera inside the Tomahawk. Both of those missiles today have warheads that are capable of penetrating a certain distance before detonating. It's likely that JASSM's warhead is similar to the technology of the mid-2000s, which had a 1,200-pound warhead that could penetrate almost 20 feet of soil and concrete. With enough cruise missiles fired, it's still plausible that the target could be reached after a lucky hit. Ultimately, the movie too showed a reliance on a lucky hit. In theory, those few dozen missiles used on the airbase could have been used directly on the target instead, and might have been enough to destroy it. In the end, using just 4 Super Hornets is very cool and exciting, but not plausible. The US military would have many more and better options. Some of those would not even risk the lives of the US pilots as much. Certainly not using stealth technology against an opponent that has old SAM systems like SA-3, which date from the 1960s, makes little sense. Those SAMs, with their command guidance method relying on radar, would be especially at a disadvantage against jamming and stealth planes. Also, there's no way even a single US carrier could not assemble enough planes on a short notice to deal with several or even a dozen Su-57s. The movie is fun, and it even got some things right, perhaps even a bit more than the average Hollywood fare involving jet fighters, but realistic depiction of modern air warfare it is not. But hey, at least it showed Su-57 being detectable by radar. That's plausible.